Talk about the friction welding process. So in a friction welding, what actually happened, every surface are rough, every surface, the smooth surface, if we observe the smooth surface in a under the microscope, then we basically see there have a very fine fin and projection over there. And when both of these particular surface are came in contact with each other, and then the rubbing will be the performed, and because of that particular rubbing, the heat will be generated in a very localized manner. And when we apply the pressure on it, then the joining is performed. So this is basically known as a friction welding process. And a spot welding, when in a spot welding we have a particular to the metal, and then these two metal are basically hold by the help of the electrode, and electrode is further connected to the power supply. Right. So this is, and because of that particular power supply, the massive heat will be generated in a very localized manner or the conjunction, and because of that the joining is performed. So spot welding actually perform after adhesive joining process. Because of the adhesive joint, what actually happens, the strength is very low. So to increase the strength, we basically use the spot welding. Then the diffusion welding process, we both the surface we came in contact with each other, then apply the pressure, and the pressure is gradually increased. When the pressure is gradually increased, then what actually happen, the heat will be generated very localized manner, or the conjunction will be heated, and after that intermolecular bond will be performed. And so this is basically the diffusion welding process. And the explosive welding, we have a base metal, and upon the base metal we place that particular metal which is need to join. And so this is base metal, and it is a particular another metal, and upon this metal we provide few explosive particle over there. So when we ignited, then this material will be create a massive force, and came in contact with the base metal or the strike of the base metal, and because of that strike, the conjunction will be the plastically deformed, and because of that particular pressure, the joining will be the performed. So this is the explosive welding process. The main advantage in a solid state welding and the fusion welding process is that in a solid state welding process, two dissimilar metal are also can join in a solid state welding process, and simultaneously here we do not need any kind of power supply. So this is, and so these are all. And underwater welding is actually, the welding is performed in the underwater. So that time we basically use, as we told you earlier, the reverse polarity. Reverse polarity, we get a metal particular plastically deformed, and simultaneously we basically a different type of electrode, that is the thick flux coated electrode, thick flux coated electrode. A function of the flux is basically it deposit on the weld metal area, and it protect the weld metal pool from the external environment. All right. And the another function of the flux is that it create the lots of water bubble, so that the less amount of the water will be contaminated of that particular welded area. And if I talk about the brazing, then what actually brazing welding, if I talk the what are the brazing material, the brazing material we have a like if I talk about the brazing material, then we have a copper lead, copper tin, copper zinc. All right. So the where we basically use the brazing we basically use in that particular area where the compressive force is more, where the compressive force is more. Brazing we use where the compressive force is more. All right. The brazing we use where the compressive force is more. So and the tensile force is less, and the tensile force is basically the less. So this is, and but if I talk about the strength of the brazing joint as compared to the solid state welding or the fusion welding, it is very less. And if I compare the brazing with the soldering, the strength of the brazing is the more as compared to the soldering. If I talk about the soldering material, then it will be like, then the soldering material is actually the copper, lead tin, lead silver. So these are, so it is basically the same thing that we basically use, where the compressive force is more and the tensile force is less. All right. And mainly we basically applied into the electrical purpose. And adhesive joining, with non-metallic substance, we basically joined by the adhesive joining process. So here basically the non-metallic substance are joined by the help of the adhesive joining process, and as a adhesive we can use the silicone over here. All right. So this is, and increasing the strength in the adhesive joining process, we basically use the spot welding as well. So in a spot welding, the metallic nugget will be the generate, so that the strength will be the more. So this is,